Hi guys! Welcome to Fundamentals of User Experience Design, a TUTS Plus premium course. I'm Sarah Kahn, and today we're going to talk about creating an information architecture. In recent lessons, we've talked about identifying problems, prioritizing them, and getting feedback and validation from real live users. The next 3 lessons will be a bit of a change of pace. We're going to delve in and do some more hands-on work, focusing on learning some techniques you can apply when you're working towards fixing these problems you've discovered. To that end, today we're going to cover several techniques you can use to clean up and organize an existing information architecture or create a new one from scratch. So here's what we're going to cover: the scent of a website, card sorting, hub and spoke diagrams, sitemaps, and then we'll have an assignment. So let's say you've been getting indications from your users that they're having trouble finding stuff. Making improvements to an existing information architecture can be kind of tricky, but these techniques will stand in the event that you're starting from scratch with a new project as well. Before we proceed, I'd like to direct you to a venerable work in the field of information architecture called The Scent of a Site. It was published originally in a journal called Human-Computer Interaction and is available for purchase from the ACM Digital Library, but I highly recommend checking your local library first because you might be able to get it for free. I'll include a link in the site resources in either case. In any case, I'll summarize the article briefly. Basically, people look for certain words in a similar way that a foraging animal would look for certain scents. Once they catch that word or key phrase, they click and make their way successfully to the information they were looking for. Determining whether users are catching the scent is something you will do through testing and metrics, as we've discussed previously. But when you're trying to make an information architecture more intuitive, one thing to look at is the individual words that you're using. Language is really important. So let's go to a big site that uses a deep information architecture, the New York Times. Look at this left sidebar here with all these subcategories of navigation. I would bet you lots of money that they carefully selected these particular terms based on what users were searching for in their site search here, as well as based on what words users themselves used to describe these groups of information. So for example, it says world. It's international news, but it uses the term world, not international. That is very deliberate, I'm sure. If you have a subcategory you're calling international, but users are searching for world, while those two words are very close, they don't mean exactly the same thing. Users can be oddly specific sometimes. So how do you get started? The first thing that I like to do is take a survey of what's there now. I go through the site page by page and make an index card or sticky note for each page or link. I'm actually going to step through a very shallow, simple site right now and do the virtual equivalent, using one of the graphing tools that I like to use. It's called Cuckoo. Ideally, in real life, I'd like to do this using pencil and paper, but we're a little pressed for time, so this is the quickie version. Alright, so here's the site. I'll just show you what the architecture looks like right now. Basically, it's got some drop downs in place, not very deep, not more than 3 items under each, and then there's some actions up here. So that's what we're going to work with. So here you can see I've created a block representing a note card for each link and page on that site. They aren't in any particular order. The whole point of putting them on note cards is to allow you to rip out the associations between them that exist currently, and may not be the most logical way to think about them. Card sorting is the exercise where you take the cards you've created and try to arrange them logically, given the absence of any other associations between them. So here I've gone ahead and taken a stab at it. I arranged them by people, things, and actions. And about was kind of an outlier, so that's why it's alone in the corner by itself. Obviously, this is way too general to be of any use, so this is where the hub and spoke diagram approach comes in. The hub and spoke approach is to arrange things that are alike until you can come up with some description of what it is that makes them alike. The description may be an existing subcategory, or it may be a new one. When thinking about this, it helps to organize by parts of speech. Think nouns versus verbs, as well as using your old SAT logic formulas. X is to Y as A is to B, or banana is to apple as pear is to Well, that's a nonsensical example because those things are all fruit. But you get the idea. You'd be surprised how often it can get past you that an X is a subtype of Y. For example, in my diagram here, Nicaragua is a project location for the group, so it's a subtype of project, but that's not where I initially placed it. Here's my first pass at a hub and spoke diagram of my cards. I've arranged them by things for the chapter, things to communicate and share, things you can do, and documentation. There is no one right way to do this, but there are ways that will feel more right to your users. So throughout this process, check with them. Ask them, does this term make sense to you? Or what word would you use to describe this? If you can, get your cards in front of a user and see how they would organize them. The results can be quite enlightening. When you have an architecture that you're fairly happy with, I like to make a sitemap to lay it all out and kind of formalize things before I run off to implement them. Sitemaps are generally a little neater and cleaner to look at and are better for showing people and getting feedback on. So here's what the top of the sitemap for my site might look like. It's a little slim in some areas, but that's because I haven't discussed it with my users yet. So you see how that works? All right, time for an assignment. Make an information architecture. Visit this site, pixelclouds.com, or any other site that you would like to do. I picked this as an example in case you didn't have a site handy that you wanted to do this for, and also because it's got a fairly shallow architecture. In fact, let's just go have a look. So you can see they've got these categories, and it seems a little lopsided to me. Only one has a drop down, and it's really deep. So that makes me wonder if this is organized in really the best way that it could be organized. So make note cards for all the top level pages and links, and try to rearrange them differently. Next time on Fundamentals of User Experience Design will be Lesson 11, Creating a Design Interaction. This is Sarah Kahn, and from all of us here at Tuts Plus, thanks for listening.